Welcome, everybody. I'm Ambo Magic. You're listening to the Musical Movements podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm here with.
Mr. Vish, and we're in this really fancy old school place, Beano's in Croydon.
Yeah, it's such a cool place, man. It's former
Formerly
Beano's.
Beano's, yeah.
Former
So,
Beano's. It's called the venue on Middle Street. It's really cool. 3 floors. Actually, used to be Europe's largest second-hand record store.
second largest, yeah, you're right.
It's the largest.
Was it largest?
It was the
Oh,
largest.
there we go. I remember coming here as a school kid, and here we are.
3 floors of records.
We've actually brought musical movements all the way to South London.
Oh, mate, you know what?
This is a feat in itself. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's such an iconic place. Like the people, especially the local people that know about this place,
Yeah.
they would have spent hours on end just sifting through different records and stuff over here. It's such a cool spot, man. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man.
Things
Not too bad. So today's podcast is about destination weddings. We're going to go into that in just a few moments. But yeah, first of all, what are you sipping on?
Oh, mate, do you know what? Let's just do one of them. Woodgun.
Yeah, we had to do that. By the way, if I refer to you as Bana, that's what I normally call you. So
Yeah, that's basically what happens.
yeah, that means brother in Swahili. So,
Yeah. So we got like, a bit of multilingual stuff going on
so
here.
there's a bit of JD and Coke for me today, and
I got a Sailor Jerry's rum and Coke today. So why not?
can't go wrong.
Why not?
So destination weddings is such a
Destination.
massive topic, and we've been grateful to do so many destination weddings over the years. What for you are the main key things to watch out for when you're planning your own destination wedding?
Well, like the thing is with destination weddings, it's really key to work with the right people.
Yeah.
I think we've spoken about it before, on loads of different occasions. That I think it's really important to have a wedding planner on board because you just got somebody who's there as your central contact and the person that's going to be their go-to, regardless of whether it's for DJs, decor, photographers, venue, whatever. You've got that go-to person that's there. You don't really have to worry about what you're gonna kind of deal with, really.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because for me personally, they're a bit more like a parent. They hold everyone's hands, and there's been situations, I'm not going to lie to you, where I've been stuck at airports or I've been stuck booking my own transfer and stuff because they're not been there. So it's really, really important to have a planner. I know we've spoken previously about the importance of a planner in weddings and stuff. In the UK, it's different, but when you go abroad, you have to have a planner. I think it's really, really important for me. And also cultures, like wherever you go, Italy, France, they've all got their own cultures and they've got certain ways to do things, and that's where the planner comes handy. So yeah,
Oh, definitely, without doubt. With that in mind, I think also with destination weddings, they can be so much fun. You have so you just it's an opportunity just to take your friends and family out of their normal settings of being at home, and they're like, normally when you're doing a wedding or whatever, you'll go from home to the wedding and then come back home. Whereas when you're at a destination wedding, you can put in different events and different tasks and different not tasks activities,
yeah,
like going to the beach or going to like just having a bit of fun, like do some water sports or something if you're at a beach, that is, and just trying to put different elements in it just to give people more of an experience rather than it just being about going on holiday or even rather than just going to a wedding. Like, have you done like weddings? Have you done destination weddings where there's multiple events throughout? Because you have to kind of almost try and make it worthwhile. Like, it's not just going to a wedding. What's the destination wedding that you've been to with the most events?
Okay, so I had one in India, and from start to finish, that event, I mean, that wedding itself, from the moment I landed, there was a pre-party, there was a welcome party, there was an after party to the welcome party, which was like a boat party, and then they had the actual wedding ceremony. They had a ceremony before that because the bride was a different, I think she was South Indian, and the groom was Gujarati. So they had like a lot of different cultures and stuff, which is it's amazing, it's epic. But in that short span of time, there's so much energy and so much drive. Everyone's in a good mood because they're abroad. It's almost like being on holiday. And first of all, you're there for the wedding, and you're also experiencing the culture of where you are. So there's loads of people that haven't been to that part of India or that haven't seen the area. So the couple have gone through the process of put an itinerary together, where to go to, historical sites nearby. It's a brilliant vibe. But the thing is, you cram in so much that you don't really sleep. You're kind of running on Duracell battery. Do you find that when you go abroad?
I was about to say that telling me how many events are. I'm just exhausted just hearing you tell me about how many events there were. Like we have loads of events generally when it comes to Asian weddings, but yeah, I mean like that's really cool that you got couples that get involved with the cultural side of things, and like especially when you got non-Asian people, and to be fair, Asian people generally, like we're all just in our own like bubbles and just doing our own bits, so we just don't get the opportunity just to sort of relax and just do something else and not have to worry about work and whatever else is going on in our lives, and just it's a nice thing for a couple to do. So I think that's a really good shout.
I mean, what I try and do is wherever I'm DJing, if I'm in Italy, for example, I try and bring a bit of that culture into the music. So especially for the welcome party, you want to set the tone and show people that you're in Italy or you're in Spain, and play an element of Italian or Spanish music fused with the culture that you're trying to DJ for. If it's Asian culture, trying to fuse it with that. And I found some really cool Spanish Indian music. It's called India Lucia kind of music. So
wow.
It's got like tablas and stuff, and you've got Spanish singing in the background. And that sort of stuff sets the tone, because people are coming to Spain and they know they're there for a wedding, and it completely sets the mood. But what I find most important, I don't know if you do this as well, but is to change up the genre for each event. So for the welcome party, the genre is completely different to the after party, if you're doing an after party, and then the reception and the wedding. So yeah, it's really important to have different genres for each event, because if you're doing a heavily Bollywood Mendi party, for example, and then a reception, you try to switch it up and do predominantly English music, you're kind of catering for different types of people and different elements of the event. If you rinse out the Bollywood and then the reception, you've got more Bollywood going on, people do get kind of bored. So have you found that yourself?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like it's a really good way to think about it, and I think that's where the value of what we do comes in to doing destination weddings, and it is about going the extra mile and looking at those things that you were talking about tapping into the culture and playing music and finding music from that culture. I know you and I are very similar in that sense. We do like listening to some really random, like obscure music, like from French to German and Italian and everything. Like, and it's really interesting. Like we get excited by music and by hearing some different types and different genres and different cultures. You just doesn't matter what they're talking about. It doesn't matter, that I don't understand the language, but I understand music. And being able to filter that into the wedding itself for where it is, it's really, really important. And I think the crowd and the guests, they do appreciate that. And yeah, I totally side with that, of course.
So a bit of an interesting question, but have you faced any challenges at destination weddings? And if so, what have you been through, or what challenges have you faced? Or how did you come across that and go past that?
Well, I think challenges. I think you've done more destination weddings than I have, but it's more so to do with the logistics and that sort of thing. And in terms of like when you land, you get there. But even we can dial it even further back from that. Especially, it's more so important right now with all the changes that have happened with Brexit. I don't want to get too political, but it's obviously we're not living in the European Union anymore, where we've got that freedom of movement. We have to worry about things like visas, and we also have to think about these like COVID passports and making sure that we get all our jabs, and making sure that whether we have to do the PCR tests and things. That means that we have to make sure that if we've got a few extra days either side of the event, just in case.
So let's throw it out. It's 2022. It's your wedding this year. Would you get married abroad?
Hang on, it's my wedding. Oh yeah, of course it is.
Would you, no, but say hypothetically, even if it wasn't, would you get married abroad if you had the choice of doing it abroad?
What if it was 2022?
Well, we are 2022 right now, so
probably not.
You wouldn't. Okay. What's your
Just
personally?
I think there'd be, for me personally, I
Yeah,
think it's because of the restrictions that are in place at the moment, and also, you know, for my guests, I just wouldn't want to like put them, not put them through it, because that's the wrong way to look at it. Because you could look at it in the sense of, okay, we're giving everybody the opportunity and just an excuse to get out of the country and go on holiday. But at the same time, I'm like, do you know what? I don't personally, I wouldn't want to like go abroad and have any risks of anybody catching anything or anything like that. It's, but that's just me. That's just my personal opinion on it. How
yeah.
about you? Because we know you're
It's
getting married. Hang on.
next week. Yeah.
No. Because this podcast goes out on the Sunday, so you'll be
Yeah.
married by this point. The
It's
podcast
it's
goes
funny
out.
because like you're saying that I'm sitting back so relaxed on these cushions and chilling out, sitting back, and I'm actually getting married next week, and I'm not really giving it much thought. I'm so relaxed and laid back. But if I was getting married a bit later on this year, would I have a destination wedding? Personally, I can't because I've got elderly people in the family that will struggle to come out for that, and for me, that's a really important factor. But we have spoken about it, and I would love to actually get married abroad because the feeling for me being abroad, even as a guest, I've been a guest at a destination wedding and I've been a DJ, and for both, the vibe generally is amazing. Like people feel like they're abroad, they can let their hair down. But as a supplier, as a DJ, there's a lot of things we've got to think about. Like I said to you about challenges. One of the biggest challenges for me when you go to a hot country is everybody wants to do things outdoors, which is great. It's amazing, especially for the pictures. But the issue I've found several times is my laptop freezing in the heat. So it's really, really important that you have shades everywhere that you are set up. But that's one really big factor for me um, as a supplier being abroad.
Yeah, I've had that as
But
well, where my laptop has frozen in that at that particular time, and I'm like, okay, well, you know, as a DJ, we have to have backups of things on USBs, things so we can just get in there and cool things down, or make sure we got a fan there or something, just to make sure that not you're cool, but the equipment is cool, and even like if you're going to places that are like crazy temperatures, if you're in somewhere like Bahrain or if you're in like Dubai or something like that, where the temperatures are 30, 35, 40 plus, the decks will melt. They
I think
will
I think
melt.
I think you will melt as well if it's
Yeah.
35 degrees.
Oh, mate.
So
Trust. Yeah. Of course.
yeah,
Without a doubt, man. Like, it's one of those ones. The heat does definitely get to you.
yeah,
Um, but then I think then that's down to the planner working with the couple to say, okay, well, we're not going to do it at the peak time of when the sun's at its highest.
yeah,
We do it when it's lower down. We do it in the afternoon later on, and then that way it can lead into an evening reception, which I've had in the past, where I have been abroad, and they've done a reception later in the afternoon. Like I think it's about 3 o'clock or something like that. And it was really nice because it would just have the reception straight after, maybe a little bit of time in the middle, not really much. Straight into a cocktail reception, and then straight into reception after that. And it's really kind of a nice way to do it. So it's a lot more cooler and a lot more comfortable, not just for us as suppliers, but for the guests as well.
I've got to say, I did during the whole pandemic moment. I did sort of miss doing destination weddings because I've always, I mean, the element of thinking outside the box and performing abroad and doing something very different. I mean, both of us, I know that our styles are very much freestyling. How would you prepare your playlist if you're doing something abroad? What's your way to go about it?
I don't think it differs too much from a normal way that I prepare a set, and send out my music fact finder to the clients and run through that during our pre meetings. And but if there was anything specific, like we were talking about before, with the cultural elements and cultural aspects of it, to see if they did want to incorporate anything like that, then yeah, totally. But I don't think it changes too much. It just depends on how many events they've got and if they've got any specific themes that are surround it, so then we can cater the music. Um, to that particular
Sure.
event. Yeah.
But
Or
tracking back a little bit, what would be your ideal format for destination wedding? So if you were going to have your destination wedding this year, and I'm trying to plant the seed in your mind, so you might have one, so I can attend a
you
destination
just
wedding
want to you want to
as a
attend.
guest and not DJ there. But if you were going to do that, what would the ideal format be from start to finish?
Well, I think it would be along the lines of having a couple of pre-events. Maybe do like a little golf day or something like that, barbecue, something like that. Nothing too serious. And then yeah, when it came down to the actual wedding part of it, to do. The thing is I've got so many things in my mind that I'm like, oh, that'd be cool to do. That'd be cool to do. But it's. I'm not having a. I know you're trying your hardest, but I'm not having it. I've already got my wedding planned. I can't say too much about it, so you'll have to just wait for the video and the photos to come out. Mum's the word on it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think with a destination wedding, it could be anything because you could be like, okay, I want to go to do a warm weather wedding somewhere, on the beachfront, or on in the mountains or something, on a hilltop, on a vineyard, a winery or something like that tends to be quite popular with a mandap on the beach with the ocean in the background, or I don't know if it was me personally. I don't know. It just off the top of my head. I don't know if it'll work or not. Is on a ski resort,
But you know what?
in the snow.
You know what grates on me so much is that you can get that in places in the UK, but the problem over here is the weather. It's simply the weather because you could do a wedding ceremony, a wedding reception in Snowdonia, which is absolutely stunning, but 9 times out of 10 you're going to get rain and stuff in Wales,
Yeah.
and that's something that's of concern to people that are having destination weddings.
Yeah,
So
funny. In fact, funny you say in this country because my cousin actually got married last year, and they actually just did a very small wedding. It was during the pandemic, the restrictions, so it was only sort of 30 people, and it was literally immediate family, and they booked like a resort in Cornwall. And it was lovely. Literally, just in the resort. The wedding was outside there, and it was just civil. And but it was really nice. Again, similarly, bringing that going away element, but not actually leaving the country.
interesting.
Yeah.
So I know we're swaying away a little bit, but
Mm.
in the UK, have you ever done an event where you've done it outdoors and you've had a situation where it started to rain or the weather's turned a bit sour and you're halfway through a ceremony?
Do you know what? I haven't, but I know you've got a story about this.
I do, but I thought I'd lead on to it just in
I've been
case
lucky.
you've been in a similar situation. But I've been very very lucky to the point where there was a wedding ceremony going on, an Indian wedding ceremony, and just after the ceremony was over, it started to rain. I could see the clouds developing, and I was scared because I had my speakers out in the open, and I was like, okay, I need to get this underneath the table. I've got to do this. Laptop needs to go down first. Laptop's the first thing on my mind to pack away, and the second thing is the speakers. So it's always a concern, and in the UK more so because it's your own equipment. So,
Yeah.
not trying to say that when you go abroad, it's not my concern still, but yeah, it's been a bit of an issue. But I've been very lucky that it's never happened, but it was so close to happening. And just after the ceremony, I just literally say sorry. The photographs had to be indoors because it started to rain, and it is a concern because we got equipment out there.
Yeah.
That laptop's going to be used for the evening reception party, and you don't want that to be wet. So
Have you, from that experience, have you tried to kind of like learn from that and say, okay, if I'm doing an outdoor wedding, I've got to either make sure that they have a gazebo or I'm going to take a gazebo with me.
So it's a tricky one because a lot of couples don't want to have the ugly gazebo look, which is fair enough. I get it because you've got all these beautiful settings and stuff, and then you've got a video recording a drone or something from above, and you can see this like pop-up gazebo randomly planted in the middle of nowhere. So I get why they don't want to do that, and they might want to take the risk. But I definitely recommend it. I'll say that. Look,
Yeah, but I don't think that's not the couple's risk, is it?
it's not. It's more for us, I guess. So I do suggest it, but gently, I guess. More
Yeah.
so. But it's definitely a good idea to sort of to have it all covered up because that can impact your ceremony.
Yeah, and do you know what? In fact, like with the speakers and things these days, you can get rain jackets for them as well. So, so you literally you put the rain jacket on, and the sound will still go out, but you can get wet and it's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's probably the only issue that I can think of in the UK.
Mm.
Even abroad, you can have that issue, but a bit less so.
A monsoon wedding.
Monsoon wedding, that's it. Yeah, but I've luckily never had that issue. But I've
I
been
think that
close
would
to
be
it.
such a cool thing to to do a wedding like a monsoon wedding
That's
like in like a marquee. I'm just thinking of that film,
you
you
thinking
know.
Bollywood, aren't you?
Yeah,
Like,
of course I am. I'm thinking of that you know that song that chunari chunari.
mm.
I love it.
but that is a really cool. Like, I mean, the good thing about doing it abroad again is the whole weather element, really. So
Mm.
but yeah, in the UK, definitely, if it rains, then you kind of screwed.
Yeah, I think so, man. Definitely.
So yeah, thankfully, like most of the countries that we've done it in, it's been outdoorsy, but it's not been overheating or a couple of situations where it has. But apart from that, we tend to find the medium, and the company that we're with that are looking after us, they tend to have things in place or covers in place, which really helps. Even my laptop, I tend to keep it with the skin next to it, the cover,
Yeah,
just in case it overheats. I can just flip it over,
yeah,
and it's got a bit of a cover there. So
yeah.
it's
You got to have these little fail safes in place just
yeah.
in case something like that was to happen abroad. I had a situation where I had I played a gig and I don't know what happened, but my laptop basically uh, drink spilt on my laptop. Yeah, and it was done. It was a write off completely. And I was due to go out to a destination wedding in Italy the week later.
Ooh.
So basically, I had to. Luckily, everything's insured and everything, so I managed to get like you know get a new laptop and stuff. But it wasn't in time, so I had to basically go to the on my way to the gig in the airport. Went to duty free,
Wow.
Dixon's. We were up there. Went to Gatwick and literally I bought a new laptop there. But I was because literally as soon as I landed, I was going straight to the venue, so I had to make sure that everything was sorted. Luckily, at that point I had all my music on an external hard drive with me, just in case. Back up your life, DJs. And uh, I just I was sitting in the departure lounge, just loading up the whole laptop, like downloading Serato, downloading like all my music to it, sorting out my playlists. And luckily everything was okay with that on that particular gig. But it was just one of them ones in that situation. You just don't know. Anything could happen. That obviously that wasn't my fault that my laptop kind of crashed. But then you have backups to kind of deal with it.
That's it.
But it was just a really stressful situation because I was like, what if I get to the duty free and there's not a laptop available? I had a backup with me, but it was the old laptop that just I know it was a little bit hit and miss. But yeah, there was lots of things in my mind. I was like, oh, is this going to work? Is it not?
But these situations are the reason why when you have a destination wedding, it's really important to have experience, and you've got 15 plus years experience behind your belt. So it makes a massive difference. All these situations can arise, and they do arise like frequently. We've been at so many gigs where things have not worked, or the speakers haven't worked, the tweet has blown, or something's happened, but we had to find a way to deal with it. Like personally, I did a gig. It was in Leicester somewhere, and back then we were using passive system, which is like amplifier
Yeah.
and speakers. So the amplifier blew, and luckily we had door players there, and I literally had to shout and go, right, we're gonna have a solo performance from the door players, and thankfully we had a spare amplifier in the van. At that point, we hyped up the crowd. Door players were doing a solo performance. They carried on dancing, got the amplifier out, replaced it, and as long as we're calm during the situations, people are going to be calm. If we stress out and flap, then other people will flap and stress out, and that's so important and crucial. Even for destination weddings and UK-based weddings, it's really important to have that experience.
Yeah, totally. Because then you can just easily troubleshoot something and diagnose whatever the problem is on the fly, and not make it look like anything's wrong,
No.
even though you're having a bit of a situation,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh my god, inside.
Yeah.
um, but then on the outside, yeah, you have to remain calm and project that calmness as well.
I've had to play a couple of tracks from my iPod because my laptop froze
Mm.
and it had that little circle of death, the donut that comes up on the
Yeah.
screen, and you're like, oh, not now. And the party was at its peak, and I had to fade in a couple of tracks on the iPod as a backup. Back then, it was an iPod. So yeah, that was really scary. But again, it's the experience and the knowledge of what to do, and not to let other people know that there's something going on, and try and, as I say, the show must continue, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever done a destination wedding where they've gone in a bit too hard on that first event? Because we've been to events before where you had like 2 or 3 events in a row. On that first event, people get a bit excited.
They get too excited on the first day, and it's almost like you need to kind of pace yourself, And everyone's great. It's excited. Oh, we're in a new country. We're relaxing. We're ready to party. We're ready to get on it. Yeah, but you gotta realize that. Hang on a second. This is just a warm up session. We've got the wedding the next day, or we've got something else the next day that we have to kind of be on point for. And yeah, I mean, like when you get into that first night, and as a DJ, I think the responsibility does lie with you to dictate how the energy of the music goes, and that energy then filters out to the crowd. Because if you go too hard, then you're obviously encouraging them a little bit as well to kind of do that. And you obviously want to flex a little bit as well, and you want to DJ, but at the same time you've also got to pull back a little bit as well on that first night to make sure that they're not they're not gonna they're not gonna fade too quickly. Yeah. So, and they're gonna be ready for the next day. Whether it's the wedding, whether it's a reception, whether it's another event. What was your experience with that?
I think, first of all, it's really crucial what you mentioned there. We are literally puppeteers, and what we do controls the mood and emotion of that crowd. And it's so important to pace it out. I can't stress that enough, because I did a wedding once in Spain, and on that first welcome party, it's an amazing feeling being out there and performing, and obviously the crowd are in the same mood and vibe. Now, the party started. They started dancing from 8 o'clock. Now, bear in mind, the next day was the wedding ceremony. Next morning, right? You already know where I'm going with this. So, 8 o'clock in the evening, they started to dance and party, raving it up. The party did not finish till 5 in the morning.
Wow.
Now, you're probably going to ask me, like, how on earth did they stay that long drinking and partying at the same time? But they had a guy that was there that was a mixologist. So he was making drinks for them. And I go to him, how on earth did you keep these people on the dance floor? And I didn't see a single fatality. Nobody passed. Nobody passed out. Nobody was in a situation where they couldn't dance anymore. They carried on dancing. I was like, what are you feeding these people? And I go to the bartender, are you drinking yourself? And he goes to me, I'm teetotal. He doesn't drink, firstly. That surprised me. And secondly, he was feeding these people on the dance floor. He was pouring drinks down them, shaking their head back and forth, and then pushing them off the chair. So he was proper doing this thing, and it was part of the act, and it was amazing. I was like, how did you carry this on for the whole night? He goes, I wasn't feeding them all alcohol. Like the people that were a bit tipsy, who realised this, and they were mixing more water. So those people think they're drinking alcohol, but really this guy's controlling what they're drinking, which is really clever, because I didn't really think of that as an option, to have a mixologist that controlled your drinks and stuff and came out and poured drinks down your throat to the point where you're drinking tap water.
That is crazy, man.
Yeah, it's insane. So yeah, just thinking back to that moment, I was like, yeah, it's quite important to pace yourself. Now that party went till 5 in the morning. The next day was the wedding ceremony, and that was a whole situation getting the groom up, because obviously he's party till 5 in the morning. The ceremony starts at 10. So it's really, really important to pace out your timing. So if you got a wedding ceremony the next day, make sure you finish off a bit earlier.
He must have been battered.
He was absolutely battered, and that same evening was a reception party. So in that segment of whatever, I don't know, 8-9 hours of dancing or whatever it was, they had to really dance through everything, all the different genres. So when it came to the reception, some of the genres already touched on, which wasn't ideal, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, good, man. This is a good first podcast. Well, I don't say first, but This is the first one that I'm doing.
Same. It's the
Yeah.
first one in South London.
South
the first
London.
time we brought musical movements to our headquarters in South London. So, yeah, like I was saying, the team never normally come down. So we thought we'd bring them down to us. So, yeah.
Definitely. Thanks for listening to the Musical Movements podcast today with myself, Ambo Magic.
And Mr. Vish.
And don't forget, you can listen to all the previous podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. So if you are listening to us on one of those Spotify or Apple podcasts, you can actually watch us. We're actually on TV. Hi, Mum. So make sure you go and do that as well. And we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.